This is Twit.
Microsoft launched the Xbox One by taking over Times Square in the entire West End of London, it seemed like, as well as other launch events all around the world. In a further example of their different focus, Microsoft gave fans the entertainment of Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, while when Sony had their launch event, they were more about news about games and such, but showing that they have common ground. The Xbox One already comes with reports of a buggy disk drive and Xbox Live outages, just like Sony's flashing blue light and PlayStation Network outage. Let the console wars begin.
In the Apple versus Samsung damages retrial case, the jury ruled that Samsung owes Apple $290 million more than the previous judgment. Now, originally, Samsung owed Apple $1 billion, but that number was cut down to $640 million due to a miscalculation by the jury. All in all, Samsung now owes Apple about $930 million for patent infringement. Now, of course, Samsung said it's going to appeal, so this case will never, ever, ever end until it does. One day.
Yay-ish. Now that you can use electronic devices on takeoff and landing in most U.S. and European flights, it's time to push forward. The FCC is considering a proposal to allow cell phone calls to be placed while above 10,000 feet. They almost proposed this before, but stopped because of all the shouting. Even if the FCC does approve of this, the FAA and the airlines themselves would all have to sign off on it before it became allowed.
Dropbox revamped its iOS app. Version 3.0 brings an updated look that matches iOS 7 a bit better. It's a lot more flat. On the functional side, Dropbox added in AirDrop support so you can send files to other iOS devices over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Dropbox also says it's revamped its PDF viewer.
AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile have all agreed to stop billing U.S. customers for spam texts used in a practice that's often called cramming. Move comes after an effort of 45 states' attorneys general, led by Vermont's William Sorrell. Verizon says it's in the process of winding down its premium text messaging service, but is keeping it running for the purposes of charities and political campaign donations.
Google is going to hold a 2-day hackathon in Mountain View to let developers get a handle on the Cast SDK for Chromecast. Google invited developers from Aircast and CyanogenMod to the event. The Android Chromecast app also got an update that makes it easier to handle troubleshooting.
In an effort to encourage people to learn to code, Wolfram Research announced it's partnering with the Raspberry Pi Foundation to include copies of Mathematica and an early version of Wolfram language on every Raspberry Pi at no extra charge. Base model of the Raspberry Pi costs you only $25. Those who already own a Raspberry Pi can download the software starting today at raspberrypi.org.
That is freaking awesome. Mozilla released its 2012 annual financial report. Now, revenue for the year was $311 million. Compared to $163 million back in 2011. 90% of Mozilla's 2012 revenue came from Google. Now, Google and Mozilla's deal continues until 2014.
One common criticism of the United States Digital Millennium Copyright Act is that it can be abused to censor speech, since bringing the abusers to court is both costly and complicated. Well, WordPress's parent company, Automattic, is helping to end that part of the problem. Joining 2 lawsuits in federal court alleging false infringement accusations, WordPress is fighting 2 cases as a friend of the court. One, Retraction Watch is fighting a disgruntled scientist who copied part of the Retraction Watch website, then claimed it as his own and sent a DMCA takedown request against it. Another involves a journalist who published a press release from Straight Pride UK, which then sent a DMCA notice to WordPress to take down the post.
Love the phrase disgruntled scientist. Better than mad scientist. New Jersey.
Not mad yet.
Not yes. New Jersey is testing online gambling. The system would require people to be within the state to play using geolocation. Now, according to the Associated Press, people testing the system have found it troublesome since the geolocation function doesn't work properly. New Jersey is expected to fully launch online gambling next week with 14 websites.